Hello, hello, hello. Good to see you. You get fairy dust. I get fairy dust. Oh, she's awake. Look who else gets fairy dust. You want fairy dust? You want fairy dust? Okay, we are going to talk about, sorry, guilt and being a fucking codependent. So we are working out of the book Codependency No More, and she says one of the codependency characteristics under the label of self-worth is codependents tend to feel a lot of guilt. Okay. If you have a lot of guilt, I want to talk about ways to begin your work on feeling guilty. When this, again, I know I mentioned this before, but I really recommend everybody work the steps. And I recommend for codependents that you work the steps. You don't have to go to meetings. I recommend that you do. I think that a lot can be gained from that. There's Al-Anon, and then there's also Coda. And there's just different recovery groups based on the 12 steps that cater to and are there for codependents. There are also some online, but I recommend that you work the steps, not because you're dysfunctional. I actually think, it's so weird to me. Like, people are so turned off. In fact, somebody yelled at me one time, she says, you're on that 12, I'm going to stop following you because you're on a 12-step trip. And I'm like, yes, bitch, I have taken so many fucking trips. 12 steps trip. Yes, that's me. Unfollow. I was going to be snarky and say you won't be missed, but I think I mean it because I don't want to be around people that think 12 steps are lame and stupid because to me, they're not. Our society, our culture thinks that they're for fucked up people. But if I told you, hey, bitch, like, you will feel so free after you work these 12 steps, everybody would want to do them. Like, I feel like, 12-step groups, I feel like it's just such an amazing resource, and it's fucking free. Like, so if you have any addiction, it's worth checking out. You don't have to go very often. I, again, think that you would find them to be helpful. And if you don't find them helpful, don't go to the meetings. But I do think the 12 steps offer a piece and a lot of information and a lot of data and a lot of healing, because the 12 steps force you to look at your shit. That's really the main thing about the 12 steps, is they force you to look at your shit and to look at your wounds. That's why nobody wants to fucking go, is because they don't want to look at their shit. They don't want to do their shit. They don't want to see it. It's just, all that's back there. We don't need to talk about it. We don't need to think about it. I don't need that. I'm not that bad. And so I just want to say that if you would like a way to work on your guilt, I would recommend using the 12 steps. And that's not even like meant to be a joke or meant to be coy or anything like that. But it's like, there's a free resource online you could get right now. You could stop watching me and go look at that. And it's going to be really hard. It's going to be very hard, but you can do it. And if you do it, if you get on there and look for the 12 steps, you will be less codependent by definition. Like, working the steps is very freeing. It's not an end-all be-all cure, but doing the actual step work is healing. And if you are offended by any of the language in the 12 steps, change the language. Like, don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, just go through it. And the most important step to working on your guilt is step 4, which is taking a moral inventory of yourself. And one of the areas where you will be doing a moral inventory is your guilt. and you have to look at it. And you keep writing the things you feel guilty about until you're done feeling guilty, or until like, okay, I think that covers it. When you're there, like that's a good stopping place. But if it's not time for that, that's totally fine too, in your own time. I just wanted to remind you that there's a very powerful resource out there for you if you're interested. Okay, free. Get online. Google it. Okay, so part of getting free from guilt, if you don't want to do an inventory right now, is just think of whatever makes you feel guilty. So right now, what are you feeling guilty of? If I said, what are 3 things you feel guilty about, and you list them, that's a great place to start. And my guess is they're not going to be big childhood guilt wounds, that they might just feel like, I feel guilty like I'm not spending enough time with my kids, or I feel guilty that I don't walk my dog enough, or I feel guilty that I feel guilty. Sometimes, you know what I'd feel guilty about? Speaking of dogs, I spoil this little doggy so much, like it's ridiculous. I'm one of those people, I find myself so annoying. But the dog before this, her name was Jewel, and she was my Jewel, and she was my bestie, and she is my dog of dogs. Amelie is amazing, and Amelie honors that Jewel was the dog of dogs. But I did not take as good care of Jewel as I do of Amelie. Like, if I'm gone from the house for like over an hour, it's so embarrassing. I can't believe it. Like, I will take her to daycare because okay, maybe not just an hour, but like plus I like other people to exercise her. So it's not just completely altruistic and I'm not just spoiling her. It's like, please, there's nothing better in life to me than a lazy dog. Like, give me a lazy dog any day. But I feel guilty about that sometimes because I love Jewel so much, and Jewel was so good to me that I feel guilty that I wasn't like this then. So what do I do with that? That is a free-floating guilt that will come visit me every now and then. It will come visit me, and it will come, and it's grief because it involves my bestie, my Jewel. Amazing dog. I'm gonna tear up. Amazing dog. Dog of dogs. Bow down to Jewel. But there is literally nothing I can do about that. There's literally, she died. Not because I didn't. Look, that bitch did not want to leave me. That bitch died of old fucking age. She wasn't sick. She was just fucking old. Bless her little heart. So, I did take good care of her. Oh my God. I don't want you to think I don't take good care of Joel, but okay, back to the point, back to the show. Oh shit. Okay. So, I did take care of her. So I have to make peace with the way that I took care of her. I can see that there was several things I was ignorant about when thinking about taking care of my Jewel, my Irish setter. I was also a fucking mother of 2 kids that were 14 months apart, so I had a lot of shit going on. I don't have as much going on as far as tasks in the day that you do when you're a parent. So I have compassion for the former me that did not spoil Jewel as much as this little friend gets spoiled. Or even thought, is this going to be hard for Jewel? But, like I did do that. I mean, I did take care of her, but also doggy daycares weren't that, that's another thing. They weren't that prevalent and easy to get to and as cheap as they are. Maybe they're not cheap. I don't know. The one I have is not that expensive. Okay. So that's just something that I have to come to terms with. And in this moment, I am just talking about it and reviewing it. So when we think about something that we're guilty about, we tend to erase all the things that we did right. And I did a lot of things right with that dog, as evidenced by the bitch died of old age. I took really good care of her. I loved her so much. Like, I loved her so much. So I have to, it is my responsibility, it's my moral obligation to myself and the people that I love to mix that in and fold that in the grief and the guilt, the grief and the guilt. But we're talking about guilt. So I have to fold that in. I can't just be sad about the shit I didn't do right. I also have to fold in a very discerning and clear way. I have to fold in all the shit I did right with her. Like, I did a lot of shit right. Now, that doesn't mean that what I did or did not do was okay, the things that I feel guilty about. But it is as an advanced bitch, so, and a bitch that's not advanced, or a person, just a regular little sweetheart person walking around in the world, thinking about guilt, she's probably not going to. What I've noticed and why I call my business and my shit that I do advanced bitches is because we have to move on. I have to move on. Life is too short. We can't just stay in our guilt. We have to do the advanced work of folding in other truths. And a part of us as a codependent likes to hold on to guilt. And we have to be willing to release ourselves from the guilt, and that's fucking advanced because most people do not do that. So, you know, and what was helpful to me and what is helpful to me is that I might think, oh, Elizabeth, you're just letting yourself off the hook. Greet my inner saboteur, by the way. That's what an inner saboteur says. But I have put myself in the hands of supportive people and loving people and brilliant people. So I have a therapist who's fucking brilliant, taught me every single thing I know. I owe her everything, including my life. I trust her to tell me if I need to feel guilty for the rest of my life. I trust her, and she does not believe that to be the case because she has the wisdom of being able to see the entire picture. And if she were here talking to you about how much Jewel and I were best friends and how much we love each other and how much that dog got from me, she would do that. Like, she would tell you. And, you know, I've been with my therapist the whole time I had Jewel. I had my therapist before I had Jewel. Jewel was 14 and she died 3 years ago. Oh my God. And so I've been doing this see why I'm so fucking advanced? I've been doing it for so long. Okay. So that's what that work looks like. And it is uncomfortable for fawns and for anybody, for codependents in general, to allow themselves to be human. And a lot of the things we feel guilty about, we were just being human. And we didn't know what we know now. And so this is fucking advanced work. You will never be free of working on your guilt. Because like I told you, I live resentment free, but I also live guilt free. I have a little bit of guilt swirling around me in the fawn department. I have a little bit of guilt. I would have handled things differently maybe even 2 years ago. I would have been more fawny. Bow down to the fawn. I would have been more caretakery. I would have been more codependent for sure. And so I have some discomfort about some of the shit I'm not doing. And so it's very uncomfortable. And some of it I feel guilty about. I have to work on that. I have to release it. I have to explore it. I have to put it in the hands of safe people to look at it with me. And it's not just my therapist, it's the healthy people that I have in my life that are my friends and my family. Like, for them to reflect back to me, this is correct. This is the healthy choice. And that is how we free ourselves. But you are on the hook for healing your guilt. Like, you must do this. If you are a parent, you must work on your guilt. You cannot walk around with guilt and shame every day as a parent. That is not okay. And so you need to work on that. You need to lift it. And if from this moment forward, but you're not allowed to feel guilty for not working on it. You don't get to throw that into the mix because that is taking something good. That's what toxic people do. They take something that's good and turn it into something bad. So you're not allowed to feel guilty about not working on your guilt. Enjoy that paradox. But all you have to do is become willing, and that makes you advanced. Okay, love you. Ask me anything. Hope that was helpful. Bye.